Hi, do you remember those times at school when you liked a certain girl or a boy and you went to your friend to ask them to ask the other person if they liked you? Well, that happens also in business. There's a reason why these things happen. It's because we don't like the direct relationship as much as we think we do. We don't like to go direct to the source to find out exactly what they think of us. Now, this has got huge implications for the way we collect information in a B2B environment. So what a lot of the business owners that I talk about is they say, well, number one, I'm annoyed by my suppliers who keep asking me these moronic questions, but B, I'd like to know myself, how am I treating my customers? Now, there are three ways you can do this. The first way is probably the newest way, in that we collect information at the bottom of emails, and every time there's an interaction, there's a smiley face, a sad face, and an in-between face that says something like, tell us how you felt about us today, or how did we treat you today, or rate our service, or whatever it is. It's in some ridiculous context at the bottom of an email. Now, that's got a few problems with it. Number one, the person who's going to answer that is probably not going to be the CEO who's the decision maker. Number two, you don't know the context around that conversation. It could be that it was just a simple administrative thing and someone's being asked to score you on it, but they don't score you on something that was a big issue, because you don't know the context around which answer they were providing to which event. It also could be that you don't know that if the answer that they give that 1 out of 100 times related to the whole experience, the whole relationship, or just to that particular event. You don't know a lot of things about what's going on there, and yet we ask them. Now, the other thing it does is that it annoys your clients. No one wants to receive these stupid things, and they look ridiculous. The second thing is that we tend to ask surveys. Now, that's a bit more old school, but in surveys we think to ourselves, right, we'll send out this survey every 6 months or so, or every year, and find out exactly what our customers think of us. And we expect the customers to diligently sit there and complete these surveys. Well, they don't. Firstly, the CEO or the decision maker is probably not the person who's going to complete it. They're probably going to send that survey to someone else to complete. The other thing is that the survey itself is going to be prepared by someone who's not professional at preparing surveys. I do that for a living, my business does that for a living, but you probably don't do that for a living. So as a result, you get a really badly constructed survey which makes you look amateurish. So that alone isn't a good thing. Now, the other thing that happens is that with surveys, in a B2B environment, you'll find that the account manager, who's the person you'd normally expect to be on top of all of these things, but they're not, the account manager is the one who will approach the customer just before the survey time and ask them to complete the survey, or just say, hey, you'll be getting a survey in the next couple of weeks or whatever it is. Would you, don't forget to complete it. Or, hey, put a good word in for me, or whatever. The client sees that and just thinks, well, hang on, I haven't seen you for 6 months, and now you're coming to my office asking me to complete a dopey survey, talking about how wonderful you are. I'm not even going to do it. So it can create a bit of tension. Now, the thing about the account managers is that we do expect them to do the work to find this information, but as budgets get cut forever and ever and ever, we're giving our account managers more and more clients to visit, and sometimes it's not physically possible for them to visit all their clients. So I'm not saying it's necessarily the account manager's fault, it's just that they get forced into a corner to say, oh my God, now this survey's coming around, I better contact the client. But the client's not going to complete it anyway. And even if they do, if it's a long, poorly constructed survey, they probably won't get to the end of it, or they'll just start skipping over things without thought. Now, the third way is very old school. Back to the example of this high school. What you can do is get a third party in between you and your client. So this third party will ask a lot of questions over a 15-minute, half an hour phone call with your client, half an hour max, asking questions about the relationship, what's going on, what is there out there that you kind of would like to mention to the supplier but you don't, and those types of things. Now, what happens is that the client will talk to a third party much more clearly and much more honestly than they will talk to you directly, because they don't want to hurt your feelings, they feel a bit awkward, whatever the reason. So putting a person in as a third party, and yes, I do that sometimes for people, but you can find anyone else out there to do it who's skilled at doing this. Getting that information is information that you wouldn't normally get. For example, hey, look, everything's been going fine. Yeah, we've been clients for 5 years, but the board's kind of itching because they want to know if there's anything else out there, anything different out there. And gee, I don't know how it's going to go. This thing could go to tender in 6 months. You know, information like that's going to come out that wouldn't normally necessarily come out. Or it could even be things about the account managers. It could be things about the products that are coming out. It could be things about the innovation. It could be anything. They're not going to share that necessarily with you directly, but they might go to a third party. So you've got a few options in how to collect information in a B2B environment, but probably the best way is the oldest school way.